I am really, really excited. I think we are so lucky. I feel so lucky. This is a reading that I would drive to San Francisco for. I would drive to Los Angeles for. I might even drive to San Diego if the car makes it. Enid Osborn and Friday. Damn, you are in for a night. We're going to start with Friday. And Friday, let's see, she talks a little bit about why she wrote. She started writing about difficulties in my adolescent years. I don't know about you, but I've never had that. I had no difficulties in my adolescent years. Everything was perfect, except for the person with the knife. Really a wonderful poet, and really has been very, very important for promoting poetry in Ventura County and beyond. She has made a big difference in our community. She's a great poet. Her first book of poetry, which is a new and selected, which I absolutely love, is recently published by Old Hat Press. The founder of Old Hat, Christian Elder, told me that we were going to need some poetry videos to help promote the book. And you can ask about those later. She started out in a performance poetry mode, and she was very, very good. And those of you who were here back in the 90s would remember her with her hat. She always wore the same hat and always wore overalls. But every time she got up to the mic, it stunned everyone. She is so incredible in front of the mic, and she's writing wonderful, wonderful poems. And we are very, very... Oh, she also does other stuff. She was one of the co-editors of Askew. When we did Askew, she told us what we were doing wrong, and she was very good at it. And she helped put together the Fire anthology for Solo Press. And so she's been in this community for a long and wonderful time for us. So you're in for a treat. Friday, Gretchen, Treur.
God. Ah, la, 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 la. You guys have no idea how much that just warmed me up right there. Thank you. Wow. What a crazy time. I'm going to do a little confession right now to you. I'm 55. I just started antidepressants 5 days ago. Okay, so I know that we're all in this way, and this is a way that we are able to be out of that way. And like at the inauguration, it's an opportunity for a little bit of joy and something outside of where we might be. So take a breath with me. And we'll be present right here, right now. I want to thank Phil. I want to thank Marcia. I want to thank my husband, John, at the back of the room filming. I want to thank Enid, who, if you don't know, Enid wrote the foreword for my book. I have looked up to Enid in the poetry realm for a very long time, and though I never have been able to replicate her voice but with my own work, so please don't expect such magnificence. Enid is grace. She's everything I've always admired. I love you, and I'm really glad you're here. Also, my mother is here. Thank you. So the way that this reading kind of began was I've been in unable to write anything mode, and I know some people are there, but there are some people that are just going bop, 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 and politically they're addressing things, and I feel so stunted and without power. But a good thing that occurred is my husband, during the pandemic, took all of my little writings and musings that were written on pages and papers, and he put them into the computer, and I got to look back at things from 1993. maybe before some of you were born. 1993, and that were little skeletal structures, and I was like, oh my God, I don't have to have an original thought right now, which is what I can't seem to muster. So with that, and with our wonderful friend Phil said, Friday, look at your book, and I'm going to pull out 3 poems that I don't think that you give enough justice to, or that I think you should just start with, and then build something. So I might give a little indication or not about those poems when they come up. Maybe not. But I'll also let you know when the new ones come up. And yeah, so I like fingertips. I like car crashes. I like some drama, so we're going to be kind of all over the place. And I'm glad for that. I'm glad you are too. Right on. Okay. Yay. So I'm going to begin with one of the ones Phil asked me to use, and it's very brief. It's called The End of Our Relationship. He told jokes I didn't laugh at as I ate unbuttered toast. It's just how it was this morning. Over eggs, over bacon, over easy. Thanks. This one is newer, and it's called Dizzy Spell. Bruised and confused, much like the sparrow that just flew against my window. Shoulder against glass door, hollow ankles crush into wood floor as I assess damage, check for blood. Then there's you, lying on your downy brown wing across from me, black eyes open, chest rising and falling again. I rub each kinked bone, the pointed parts that protrude from me, longing to snap out of it and return to things singing to be tidied. But the small animated stars still circle our heads like charms on a bracelet. We make easy company through this clear mirror. I hope we each get back to it soon without any lasting damage. This is one of the old new. This was first started in 1997, and it was created just a few days ago. It's called Unwanted Fishes. We fin around the glass house you gave to us, share our space with algae-sucking monsters, unnaturally bright plastic plants and rubble coat the floor. Who's the guy in the yellow helmet by the treasure chest? You watch us, control our movements with fingertip dipping, break the ceiling with your pink pulpy flesh, lure us synchronized from left to right, down to side, loop up from bottom, and finally onto the carpet to flop deathly still. Thanks, Phil. So we've got death going there. You know, it's here. It's here. This is the second poem that Phil requested. This is in the book also. All of the 3 are in the book. This is called Did I Just Kill Something? Under the stars, she startles, addresses a tickle at the curve just below her breastbone. When she swipes up from the edge of her left breast to her throat and mashes something delicate under her pillowy fingertip. I hope I didn't just end the life of an innocent, she says out loud to no one, flicks the crumpled carcass from under her fingernail to the ground. She feels sorry for the thing in the dim of the half-lit moon, wishes it had never happened, spends a millisecond wondering if the insect had been female, and how long had it gone undetected? Returning to the scene of the rub-out with both capable hands, she strokes skyward from the bottom of each shapely mound in a support bra crisscross fashion, announces, "In the event that eggs have been laid upon my bosom, rest assured they shall join their mother in insect heaven, and I remain free from this arthropod infestation." She feels nothing roll up under her tips. Perhaps during the original swipe and flick, the eggs went with their mother. Realizing ruin cannot be undone, she lifts her cigarette from the ashtray, takes a shallow drag, and blows a ring around the moon. Thanks. Thanks. I brought, this is an old classic. I brought this one into the reading because it mentions a fruit that I'm going to reference a little bit later as well. So I wanted a little, that's what I did. This is called Supermarket Tryst. She held it in her fist, put it to my face, and said maniacally, "Mango, mango." She was chanting. I was dancing. We twirled together, squeezing squishy fruit, splashing sultry, sliding on slippy floor to honeydew display we lay, sweetening our whistles, kissing slavishly, nectar slipping from tongues, slobber to spit, frothy down my front over clavicle into belly button, twisting limes in our hair and sucking pulp through sensuous smiles. I understood her mantra. Thanks. This is a poem that I recently wrote for my mom. There's a little bit of good advice in here, so I'm sure that you'll cling to it when it's found, but this is called The Size of Our Lens. Despite this pulse of chaos, our collective decisions that have broken us down on the side of the road, she is warm and welcoming. Each end of phrase tips up toward the smoke-laden sky. The methane, unseeable but detected, even here she holds space for joy. Husbandless after 53 years united, she keeps currents moving, remains buoyant while worlds disintegrate around her. Abandoned but not of hope, she smiles still. She is my mother, yet she nurtures many, lifts them up and points to the monarch, points to the geranium, and says, "Look, here, closer, not the whole sky burning, not the whole earth waning, but here, this small section, a portion of a colorful wing, this heart-shaped crimson petal suspended in a field of green." Thanks. This is a new poem. Car crash, death, okay. This is called This, Our Final Minute. Rising waters along this highway cliff, mud flipped our car all around, found us a cushy spot in the brush, teetering over the edge of a heartache. Tender moments, you said, are found at times like these, and I believed you knew. My bloodied cheek slid in your hand as you pressed your lips to mine. Your rugged fingers combed through my cowlicks, glass embedded there, cut them casually. I took a moment to count the places life was seeping from me. You smiled, knowing it was all the same. Headlights of the next vehicle tore across your face like a cop's flashlight at a checkpoint. You sighed, as the familiar mud bank threw another motorist into our lap and us over the edge. Okay, mango. Mango, okay. This is called the bisected mango. This is one of those from I don't know what year, this one didn't say. But it began and I just went in and went, okay, let's make this something. So here we go, the bisected mango. We must have been 10 or 11 when Shannon's dad talked about uterus as he bisected a ripe mango at the sink and scooped out the dark, useless seeds for the disposal. He spoke of reproduction and the role of the man with fertilization as he filled the recently emptied hole with Cool Whip. The utensil he used to savor the sweetened fruit had curving, jagged edges like an implement of torture. With care, he placed each serving onto his tongue, closed his lips, licked the cream from his mustache before chewing each bite. Okay, so this is this one. Oh, that's all right. Let's be with it. I've got a couple more. This one is started in 97 and finished on the 21st of this month. It's called At Her Feet, or last month. She draws the line you may not cross, using the tip of her pointer finger along the lace edge of her fancy bloomers. She saunters her delicate frame before you, stroking the length of her milky white arm that floats through the air like smoke from a peace pipe. And your whistle is wet, imagining her elegant fingers dancing across your chest. You push ice cubes around the fruit in your Shirley temple without taking your eyes from her. A maraschino cherry hits your lap and rolls across the sticky floor. Okay, I'm going to bring you down and then I'm going to lift you up. This is the final poem that Phil asked me to pull from my book and reinvigorate in some way. The title of the poem, I need a sip of water, but the title of the poem is The Last I'd Seen of Him. It's okay. It's okay. Thank you. I could jam over there, but I'm not going to. The last I'd seen of him. The last time ever I saw his face, we sat in our morning ritual, he in his big leather chair, me the sofa with slippered feet propped up on our coffee table. Drinking from mugs, we held our respective iPads. John was playing solitaire when I said, I want a divorce. He took a breath, turned pale I'd not seen over our 17 years together. I didn't hear it when his big heart paused mid-beat. I didn't see it when his Adam's apple stopped at the middle floor and slept there. Setting his hot cup onto the coaster, his giant arms quivered. Then he told me I was making a mistake. He told me this couldn't be undone. He asked me not to tell anyone. He said he would leave in a few hours, and he did. He called from the road that led to wherever he was going. He called to tell me that with swollen eyes, wet cheeks, he couldn't get there safely. He asked if he could come back to stay one more night. I said, okay. He came, he looked about our space and cried, and asked many questions and cried, said he was so close to becoming who I wanted, and cried that he was too late, and cried as we walked into our bedroom, and cried as he pulled up the covers, and cried as he slept, and left the next morning in tears. 2 years later, my weeping began. Thanks, Mel. Okay, this is the last poem I'm going to share, and I've got a little story, a little lead in here. What is your favorite? Oh my God, couple prepares balsamic chicken. I don't even have it. I bless you, Mom. I will read it to you later. I love you for asking that. Yes, couple prepares balsamic chicken is Mom's favorite, and it's levity, and that's what we're looking for right now. I'm going to give it to you. So this little story, it's brief. I met this gentleman at a coffee house at a poetry reading. He approached me afterward and said, "Gosh, your stuff's so dark. It's so heavy. Like, have you ever considered getting a notebook with like a silly thing on the front that will change your mood when you look at it?" And I was like, wow. I have to admit that I did. I actually bought a notebook that had a Pomeranian on the front, like, and then I took that and I put a beret on it. I put a French mustache on it, and I called him Jean-Pierre, fuck you, dog. It just didn't work. It just backfired. But anyway, there's also the second poem I ever wrote for this person is in my book, and it's called Always in It for Myself, and a lot of you may be familiar with it. But this was one that never went anywhere, but I'm bringing it to you today. I also, before I finish, want to say I have a few books. I think all of you already have it. I have some DVDs that someone made for me that have 2 poems on them, DVD. So if you have old school tech, or if you know an old folks home that has old school tech, please take as many as you can. I have like 25 of these things back here. It's embarrassing. I don't like plastic. I don't want to throw them away, so there they are. Distribute them widely. Okay. And help yourselves, seriously. Okay. This is called, In the Event That I Give In to Your Miserable Suggestions, here is poem number 1. Oh, he also suggested rhyme. Oh my God. Okay, here's couplets. Is it a friend I seek in you? Someone to help see me through? A person to share the lonely nights? Love me even through the fights? Assist me on my road to the Lord before a necklace of piano cord? Help me find a path to follow. Teach me how to stroke and swallow. I appreciate the advice you give about the way that I should live, but like a poke in the dark of night, I think I know what I should write. Asshole. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
As one of those people who live in an old folks' home, I do have old tech. Thank you very much, Friday. It was great. You guys online, you guys over there, and if you want to read an open mic, just put it in the text box, and I'll put you in. Okay, next. Well, this is really exciting. Enid Osborn is one of the poets she's one of the poets of the Mid-Coast. I mean, the poet, underlined, of the Mid-Coast. She is given us so much beautiful work over the years. We are so lucky to have her here. And I've always loved it when she's made her way to Ventura, and it's always been a blessing. So, Enid Osborn is a longtime resident of Santa Barbara and served as Poet Laureate of Santa Barbara from 2017 to 2019. She is author of the book When the Big Wind Comes, which is from Big Yes Press, and she has some chapbooks, Queen in Exile, Milagro, Worm, Lore, and Burden of Decency. And she also co-edited a really amazing anthology that I didn't get in, with Cynthia Anderson. I actually wrote the poem 2 years later. I'm kind of slow on that sort of thing. She's a visual artist. She writes literary and film reviews. She's an incredible singer. She does fiction. She works as an administrative assistant. Is that still so true? She's retired. The things we love the most, being retired. She produces and supports poetry venues, small press publications in Santa Barbara and Ventura County. She is often invited to read at West Coast venues and festivals, and we are very lucky to have her here. Enid Osborn.
Well, only half of that was true, and I'll let you guess which half. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Marcia, for all the wonderful events you give us, and thank you all for being here. This is amazing. What a great crowd. And thank you for driving, those of you who came from far, far away. And thank you, Zoom friends. It's so good to see everybody. Okay, so that intro kind of shook me up a little bit. I have to recover. So I want to begin with a poem by our friend Jackson Wheeler. From the book of Revelations. It was the year Jinsea Gibby's roses crinkled and browned, not less than 20 yards from the tracks of the Great Southern Railway Company, whose Leviathan trains spewed poison on rail-twisting banks of Suckle and Kudzu. Much thought was given to letter writing or damning the engineer. As a child, I laid snares for the beast, my mornings spent searching for a tether to hold the evening train. But Jinsea suffered the blight of her roses. It was all biblical, only a sign of the times, of things to come. She called it the first woe, swore up and down that Isaiah or Elijah or somebody somewhere in the Bible had seen trains before their time. They had breastplates, as it were, breastplates of iron, and the sound was the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. People laughed at Jinsea, but I still remember the day the train came through with long, flat cars of shackled convicts. I stood and gaped at those gray, silent men who did not repent the works of their hands and dared to ride that infernal machine whose voice in the night was, woe, woe, woe. Jackson Wheeler. So here's a poem I wrote for Jackson in the form of a letter many years ago, and it's titled Yellow Paint. And the house where I live is only 2 doors from the railroad, so that first poem I dearly love. Yellow Paint for Jackson. Dear friend, you have taken your solid, benevolent presence and your rolling voice home to North Carolina to visit your mother, who is ailing. I'm troubled you may lose your way back to us. I'm troubled you may lose your dear mama, having too recently lost your brother Joseph. And I am troubled in that case your mighty heart could break. I bless you with my paint roller, laying out swaths of butter yellow, a divine, honestly joyful color, over walls of dingy Navajo white and a patina of cooking smoke. I have painted a fair piece when a fully loaded freight train passes by my window headed south. From the ladder, I admire bold graffiti on boxcars, though I cannot parse out the words. A choir of vases chimes softly atop the refrigerator. As the old house rocks, I hold fast to the gingerbread edge of an open dish shelf, trying not to paint myself or anything else that should not be yellow. And just then, Coldplay comes on the radio singing Yellow, the live version that begins with wild applause. I resume my rolling and sing loud as I can in high dedication of my fresh walls, the afternoon light, the train, the sturdy ladder that holds me in air, my paint-spattered floor, the choir of vases, and in dedication of friendship I sing, look at the stars, look how they shine for you. The train tracks ribbon down to where the sea opens out at Rincon and further on to Ventura through fields and junkyards and car dealerships to crazy beat streets, check cashers, furniture dealers, flailing windsock puppets, a patchwork of multilingual signage, a rented church and brick train station to Old Town Oxnard, where your pretty house awaits. Beloved, come back to us. Beloved, come back to us from your mother's garden in that sad southern world. I'm reading mainly from my manuscript Pedregosa Street today, which is about my 28-year tenancy in an old house in West Side Santa Barbara. In recent years, the house was sold and the new owner took the enormous task of repairing, restoring, and repainting the house, which changed color, and it was a bit shocking for those long-term residents. Lázaro, the painter. Lázaro, the painter, sings a corrido on the stairs where the ceiling is high and boomy. He hams it up mariachi style as he rolls out the primer coat, the layer that boosts the final coat, allowing the color to shine true. Lázaro bears the name of a man who, entombed in darkness, was called forth to demonstrate the rewards of faith. Even a dead man may balk at such an offer, may choose to remain in a world dark and now familiar. But Lazarus emerges and walks into the arms of a stranger with a voice seductive as living water. Indeed, his first view of new life quivers behind a veil of tears, his brain doubting more than ever what his eyes tell him to be true. A painter's life is truth, trueness of color. No guesswork involved, each recipe exact as a baker's. He falls in love as he fingers the sample, again as he pries open the can. This house will be the shade of winter squash, red for the doors like blood of the bull. Not your prim old lady this, but a male Vic, square with strong cornices. Under the high eaves, Lázaro clings like a spider, reaching to accent sill and curlicue with expert stroke, the size and hair of the brush chosen for each detail. In the morning, he sings on the stairs. In the afternoon, he sings in the sky. Thank you. I was sad when it was time for him to go. He was at the house every day for 6 weeks or more, and he was my buddy, so really missed him. I'm going to read a poem titled Why I Did Not Cut My Hair. And there's a broadside on the back table. You all are welcome to them. If you could leave a couple bucks for printing, I'd appreciate that. The broadside has 3 poems on the theme of hair. And this is one of them. Why I did not cut my hair. Because each follicle is a tiny antenna, and the longer the antennae, the more intelligence I can collect. Because I kept my hair all the way through cancer. Because I kept my hair all the way through menopause, though I shed like a dog who was left in the car. Because hair wants to do its own thing. Because the arbiters of fashion say cut it short after 40, and the gravitational pull of planets at the moment of my birth caused a lifelong tendency to act contrary to expectation. Because the abuelitas in my neighborhood sport braids down to their waists that swing when they walk. Because Frida cut hers despite an unfaithful man, and I, who have no unfaithful man, am grateful. Because those Native American boys who were recruited to scout during wars lost their uncanny abilities after they were given the buzz cut. Because my husband used to tousle my short curls, and now he watches my hair with a sort of shyness. Because long hair flies in wind and floats like seaweed. Because it catches the eastern light to make a kind of halo. Because hair is a holy garment. Thank you. I want to thank Phil, Marcia, and Friday for printing that in askew. I want to say to all of the friends and creatures in the wildfire's path, we have carried you in our hearts these weeks. Yesterday I was in Chaucer's bookstore, and there was a family there, a mother and 2 girls, buying books to replace the books that burned in the fire. And they lost their home, they lost everything. This is a poem I wrote in 2017, Books to Save, Thomas Fire, Santa Barbara. Lighting the ridge, a mane of flames heads toward the city. If the heroes can't stop it, it'll make of Mission Street a right canyon and hurry to the west side. We prepare to evacuate at a moment's notice. There's a pile of books in the center of the room. If I think I can re-buy the book, I leave it on the shelf. We will find each other again, I say to William, Mary, Pablo, Rainer, Sylvia, and gingerly pick slim volumes, one-off anthologies kind enough to choose my poems and nestle them in. And the books by you, my friends, precious volumes my hands longed to hold years before they sprang into the world and were showered with praise. These are the books I choose to save. This house that gave me shelter I will leave someday for some reason, a fire, a quake, a weariness of climbing stairs, a change of ownership. From my eastern window, I watched Thomas jump the ridge and travel downhill toward the town. This path will likely bring fire to our threshold. The wind will do the rest. So obviously, I still live there, and the house didn't burn down. And by a miracle and the courageous efforts of firefighters, that fire I could see on the ridge was pushed back over the mountain, and it never hit the town. So I'm grateful. One of the themes throughout the Pedregosa Street book is insomnia. So I'm going to close with two poems about that are kind of touch on that theme. And I want to thank you again for being here. And we look forward to the open mic. And I want to thank Friday for all the kind things she said about me and for being a friend for such a long time. And what a voice. Oh my God. Isn't she gorgeous? This is a longish poem. It's called The Causal Arrow of Time. My oldest friend in California is here. The causal arrow of time. Bedtime asserts, Bedtime asserts a strangeness, the transition from upright to lying down, a diminishment of the guard. When all the house goes to sleep, I begin my battle against sleep and keep it up into the wee hours when neck gives like warm tallow and head nods into deep space, or if standing, a knee gives way and I fall like a length of timber. Let's talk about things that happen while one is asleep. The clever rat has its way. A ghost stands in the hall. Shoes walk themselves across the tired carpet or crawl deeper under the bed. Scraps of paper meant to remind me fall from their postings and lodge behind books that are busy reading themselves aloud. My mother, disruption, visits from her coma to knock over a jar of honey. A West Side banger whistles one note beneath the window. A spigot drips into a cup that overflows, and Master sits at the foot of my bed to quietly chide me. He and John talk about their paintings. I strain to hear their conversation over loud orchestral music, knowing all the while that the causal arrow of time moves in one direction. The hours are fleeting, unwatched, wasted. At daybreak, I open to terrible dread and remain skeptical well into the morning. The world I have just left, more loved than this one. Until I rise and wash, until I strike a blue flame beneath the glass kettle, until the sky shows its shy light, and I begin again to forget and slowly embrace this world, the one with closets of wool and bells of silver. Thank you. And I mentioned the shoes moving around, and this poem is called Floating Shoes, and it's all true. The thudding sound I sometimes heard upon waking was not the ghost, though this does not rule out the presence of the ghost. Nor was it the rat, nor was it my downstairs neighbor preparing for bed after working the night shift, nor was it the heavy crow landing on my roof. In fact, it was my 2 shoes floating beside the bed, held aloft by my dream state, that came unsuspended and hit the floor, thump, thump, as I began to wake. The volume of the thuds must have depended on the height of the shoes in air. I sometimes heard them, but fell back into a dream, their touchdown then doubted or forgotten at second waking. But I did wonder why my shoes were not lying side by side as I had left them. How careless. Apologies to the ghost if I'm telling this wrong. Apologies to my neighbor. Apologies to the rat. Thank you. Woo!
Okay, we're going to take a break now, and then we'll come back with the open mic. Everyone can talk to everyone except Marcia. Marcia has to sit there and be quiet. She talked too much at the beginning. I want to thank you guys for being here, and you're in for an open mic treat. See you in a bit. Talk to each other. Pretend you like each other.